is see Anna Kasparian cooking Ben Shapiro on CNN.
Somebody else who you can see, she's the first black mayor of Detroit, Michigan. Where young people came out in large swaths and voted for.
So then the question becomes why they're focusing on Mamdani. And I think the answer is because of Mamdani's own words. If you watched his victory speech last night, he used one line in particular that sort of leapt out and left off the screen when he said that there is literally no problem. This was his line. There is no problem too big for government to solve and no matter too small for government to care about. I mean, that's what totalitarians would say, is that there are literally, and then the two people he quoted verbatim, aside from Mario Cuomo, which was I thought a delightful little slap at Andrew. I thought it was a little nasty. But he quotes Eugene V. Debs, who is a socialist, and then he quotes Nehru, another socialist, and then he says, "I am a socialist" from the stage. So saying that President Trump is somehow going overboard when he has campaigned as this, when the Democratic Socialists of America, which is a base from which he springs and to whom he answers in many ways, is openly socialist.
But he's not talking about.
Here's the problem, and this is the reason why I do not feel ashamed or scared to call myself a socialist, whereas Nazis have to hide that they are Nazis. World War II happened, and then the Cold War happened, right? And yet, I don't have an issue calling myself a socialist. I don't even have an issue when people call me communist, right? Now, liberals still make these distinctions where they're like, oh, well, it's not real socialism. It's not real communism. It's like, it's something different. It's fake, blah, blah, blah. All this like fearful posturing against the Red Scare. The reason why is because most people understand the distinction. While there is heavy propaganda against the concept of socialism, the ideology of socialism, it ultimately doesn't matter because people understand it as an economic system. Fascism, on the other hand, Nazism, on the other hand, revolves around the eradication of entire swaths of the population. That's it. There's a difference between these two value systems. There's a difference between these two economic systems, if you want to call it that, because fascism it operates within the confines of capitalism, but I'm not going to get into that for now. But that's it. I don't have an issue saying that I want to live in a world where workers have more autonomy in their lives. Workers have more freedoms, and they can control their own destiny. They can do more with their output. That they have more control and a democratic process over their contributions and what gets done with said contributions. That is perfectly fine, perfectly appropriate. Nazis can't do that because at the end of the day, they have to advocate to purge entire swaths of the population. It's a violent theory.
He said on this network he hates capitalism. He said that on this network.
But the president's been calling him a communist, not a socialist.
Well, why don't you explain what you think that the difference is?
There's a big difference.
What is the difference?
99.99% of America did not watch his speech. 99% of America literally don't care who Eric Adams is or Cuomo is or who the mayor of New York is. But what is happening, though, is Democrats do something that we don't normally do, which is harness the energy of young people. And Zoran Mondani had the issue that carried the day yesterday. Everything else, set aside everything else about how you feel. He talked about affordability in a way that communicated to voters and resonated. But Zoran Mondani is a part of the future of the Democratic Party. He's not the face of the Democratic Party, or he is not the Democratic Party.
Well, something to also keep in mind is, calling him a socialist didn't hurt him in this election, because if you look at Democratic voters, many of whom live here in New York City, they are super skeptical of capitalism. Sure. Because of the crony capitalism they've been dealing with. They don't see a future for themselves in this country in terms of being able to afford a house, be able to get married and have children. So young Democrats who were very much galvanized by Mamdani's message were not put off by his message of socialism. They liked it. And that's something important to keep in mind.
But Republicans are not campaigning in New York against socialism. They are campaigning nationally against socialism. And what they're saying is that the Democrats, don't fall for the bait, is I guess what I'm saying to you guys. I shouldn't give you, I hope you fall for the bait, but don't fall for the bait of making Mamdani the face of your party, because the reality is that Abigail Spanberger won by a large...
Wow. Yeah, we should let Ben Shapiro be the advisor for the Democratic Party. Why would you ever listen to Ben Shapiro giving you good advice? If anything, if your opinion is identical to Ben Shapiro in this moment and you're a Democratic consultant, you should really think twice. You should think twice about why Ben is saying that. Yeah, this doesn't help your cause. Guy who hates you and your cause, always. It's always the same. You see it in my replies every day. It's ridiculous.
Margin in Virginia. Then Zoran Mamdani won in New York last night. And by the way, he was running against another Democrat. Okay, that's how much he was disliked. Yeah. Right? I mean, he's running Andrew Cuomo, who's a deeply unpopular person in New York.
He sure is.
Won 800,000 votes in that race last night because there were so many Democrats who didn't like Zohran Mamdani.
Right.
So this idea that Zohran Mamdani is like overwhelmingly popular across the if you include a country that includes half of Republicans, not a city like New York, where perhaps 7 people are Republicans and like 3 of them voted for Curtis Sliwa in the end. Like, I'm sorry, it's not a representative sample. It's like saying that AOC is representative of the broad spectrum of American politics, and she isn't.
Fair enough. All right, coming up next.
This man desperately wants to make sure that the Democrats are not represented by Zohran Mamdani's politics. I cannot think of a better commercial for instantly moving in that direction with the party's politics than someone like Ben Shapiro saying this is bad for your cause.